Thank you very much, and thank you, Madam Speaker. And let me begin by thanking my colleague, Congresswoman Maxine Waters, the gentlewoman from California, for organizing this very important special order tonight. And let me just say to you, Congresswoman Waters, that your clear voice and your sound judgment as the co-founder of the Out of Iraq Caucus has helped guide this anti-war movement, not only here in the House of Representatives, but throughout the country. Your boldness and your vision in organizing those of us who knew that this war was wrong from day one, in putting together over, 70-some members now of the Out of Iraq Caucus. I have to salute you and thank you for that, because we'll never go back again. All we can do now is move forward to try to end this occupation and prevent another preemptive war against Iran. It's very timely that Congresswoman Waters has called us here tonight to sound the alarm on Iran. It's truly disturbing to me to hear many of the same drumbeats on this administration's march to war with Iran as we saw 5 years ago in the run-up to the war in Iraq. So I want to provide just a little bit of history on Iraq to draw out some of these parallels in the hope that they will provide Congress and the American people with a clear warning signal. Madam Speaker, this discussion is also timely today because today is April 15th, and millions of Americans across our country are right now racing the clock to beat the tax filing deadline. And lots of them are asking, how much do they owe, and what is the government doing with their money? And one answer, Madam Speaker, is that in the last 5 years, this administration has spent nearly $500 billion on the Iraq war and occupation. This Iraq tax, and that's what it is, an Iraq tax, comes out to approximately $16,500 for every American family of 4. Has the tax been worth it? Let's look at what we have gotten in exchange. More than 4,000 of the nation's best and bravest have been killed. More than 30,000 others have been wounded, many suffering permanent and debilitating injuries. Tens of thousands of innocent Iraqi civilians have died, and millions have been internally displaced or sought refuge in neighboring countries. Meanwhile, the occupation of Iraq has caused serious damage to America's international reputation and created a generation, mind you, a generation of future enemies incensed by the endless occupation of their country by a foreign power. And, Madam Speaker, compounding the folly of this strategic blunder, the $500 billion which American taxpayers already have spent on this occupation is now undermining our ability to finance the investments needed to address the pressing domestic needs of the American people and to revive our sagging economy. Given what the Iraq tax has brought American families, and this $500 billion is quickly amounting to almost $3 trillion very soon, is anyone really surprised that the American people are angry and demanding change? Now, the saddest aspect of this whole story and this whole episode, Madam Speaker, is that it did not have to be that way. Along with 125 of my colleagues, a substantial majority of the House Democrats, I opposed the war like Congresswoman Waters did from the beginning. And we voted against the resolution authorizing the use of military force. I offered an amendment Congresswoman Waters supported. We got 72 votes during that period to the original use of force resolution to prohibit the administration. Remember this, Congresswoman Waters? We did everything we could do to try to keep the administration from taking military action until the United Nations could complete their inspections and confirm that Saddam Hussein's regime indeed posed or possessed weapons of mass destruction, which it intended to use against us or to give to our sworn enemies. Now, had the Lee Amendment been adopted, we would have learned much sooner and at far less cost that the whole world knew, that evidently we didn't know, but some of us knew, but the whole world now knows, including the American people, that Iraq did not pose an imminent threat to the United States, was not involved in the September 11th attacks, had no ties to al-Qaeda, and had no weapons of mass destruction. The war and occupation has also exacted an awful toll on our military force our structure, our readiness, and the men and women in uniform and their families. General Richard Cody, the Army Vice Chief of Staff, testified before Congress that the Army is out of balance. The current demand of our forces in Iraq and Afghanistan exceeds the substantial supply and limits our ability to provide ready forces for other contingencies. Now, because of this administration's mistakes, tens of thousands of servicemen and women have been required to undertake lengthy deployments into war zone 2, 3, and some even 4 times. This has placed enormous strain on them and their families and increased their risks of struggling with mental health issues, including when they return home, many post-traumatic stress issues that we have never seen before. Nearly 60,000 veterans of the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan have been diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, and most experts in the field believe the numbers could be much higher. Some may ask, why is it necessary to review this history? Well, as the old saying goes, those who forget history are doomed to repeat it.